Scientific Writing Management Part 4, How to Make Your Research More Visible. Let's talk about copyright and authorship, about archiving and open access, about personal scientific profile. When you are doing with scientific writing, you should definitely understand that there is a copyright and authorship. And there are sometimes very difficult relations between authors, publishers, and the readers. It is even pity that most of the scientific works are not accessible by any kind of persons, only to those for whom someone paid, like our university pays for your access to many published articles, isn't it so? And all these relations are regulated by licenses. Let's focus on specific definition of the open access. It is online access to scientific information that is free of charge for the end users. And here by end users we mean foremost readers, as well as same authors as you are, any kind of researcher, any kind of interested person. Well, what is scientific information here? It is a peer-reviewed article or research data. And open access could be several types. Green open access means that a version of your article is archived in an online repository. It could be the university repository, some internationally recognized repository like Archive or even ResearchGate. Access to the articles may be delayed by an embargo period, which means that you should understand that whenever you send an article, there is a preprint, and there is a print, and there is a published version, all kinds of versions of your document. Some of them could be put to this self-archiving, but not all of them. And moreover, sometimes publishers agree that you upload your version somewhere only after this embargo period, which is usually 1-2 years. Besides green open access, there is a so-called gold open access, meaning that an article is immediately provided in an open access mode by the scientific publisher. Usually you pay for that. It is 1,000 euros, 2,000 euros. In the top journals, it is up to 4,000 or 5,000 euros. And so the associated costs are shifted away from the readers to the university, institution, or the funding engines. Whenever you publish something, just first of all you can check what is written on the web page of the publisher, and second you can use the so-called Romeo service. It is here given with a short tinyurl.com/ut-romeo. There you just write what is your journal, and the service will tell you whether you are eligible to archive your article, and where and how, what kind of conditions. There are many benefits from the open access. First of all, it accelerates the research, because your articles are immediately accessible to the research community. And as you know, the research is much more intensive these years than 100 years ago. Avoidance of the duplication of research efforts. Once the authors can see what you have done, they might reconsider what they were planning to do. So simple. Third, enhanced opportunities for multidisciplinary research. Because the data is shared, it is accessible to those from other fields, because usually subscriptions are very specific. So the physics department would like to read specific journals from the physics. Chemist would like to read something from chemistry, and we will never pay for arts and humanities. However, if we have access to some arts and humanities, I would like to start reading Lotman, and then immediately I would find a link between semiotics and chemistry. How wonderful is that? Now overall, it's about openness and transparency, and thereby contribute to the better policy making. Policy making means what your government does, and ultimately benefits society and citizens. Let's agree with that. There is an initiative by the European Union Horizon 2020. Soon there should be another initiative. But overall, they stimulate researchers to disseminate their research results through the open access. And this scheme demonstrates that nowadays, when we apply a project, we are adding a data management plan stating there that we are going to produce these articles and that data, and we would like to share it and disseminate using these options. Like for the data, we could use repositories, something like GitHub or data repository specific. And for publications, we can use gold open access and green open access. Good. And besides open access, there are many open science directions like open data, then open source, open methodology, open peer review, open access, open educational resources. Why you should make all your publications publicly available? Because that is a part of your publicity, public profile, what you do, a way of advertising your research. For instance, here is an example of my ResearchGate where I can add all my publications. I was not doing it for several years because it takes time. But luckily ResearchGate somehow finds my own articles, and sometimes it just asks, are you an author? And I have to click yes. So public profile, it's not only the ResearchGate, it's in general, these are useful for dissemination of your results. To do so, you can export RES file from your Zotero with all your publications, and then it will allow you to export from Zotero and then import all your articles to some social networks like ResearchGate. You can also use the same technique to upload your articles to Estonian research agency website, ETIS. Yes, because usually in order to put something into ETIS, you should write it with hands, but actually you can import it and it makes your life much easier. Beside that, what could be your profile that doesn't require any attention or any efforts from you is Google Scholar profile. You just go there, you have Google account, and you authorize and you say that it's me. Please find all my publications, and it will do it for you, and it will be auto-updating. Another one is very important for the American and European science is ORCID. It is identification number, and it also auto-updates. And I see some direct benefits from having a public profile. Here is a man, Helio Ribeiro. I haven't asked his permission, but he wrote to me many years ago, asking about my research. You remember, I've told you that a publication, an article, is a way of communications. But when you publish something, it is a written way of communication, of course, but it is also a kind of frozen way. Using the research profile in social networks like ResearchGate allow you to make live communication with persons, to talk about science, and also increases, let me sum up, it increases the visibility of your research. It is, of course, a way of dissemination. Not only you publish an article, but also you disseminate it to further. Third, it's a way to start new collaborations, to keep collaborations. Fourth, it's definitely a knowledge transfer, especially if it's not only about articles, but also about the data, methodology that you could share. Fifth, it is useful data mining, because if you are uploading your data and you can expect from the others to upload the data, you could start using their data. I mean, you base your research on some data, right? If you can get the data from the others, you might analyze it and make discoveries that those houses haven't reached. But with your perspective, you can find some new value in this data. To sum up, let's talk about this part 4, how to make your research visible. You should know your rights. I mean, the authorship, and what you can deposit to repositories, what you cannot. You should definitely make a personal scientific profile. I'm highly recommending it. And once you've done, you can update your profile using reference management software like Zotero, because there you accommodate, put all your reference, all your articles in one place, systematize, clear, make it look better, to include all the metadata, and from Zotero you could export it and then once again import to some social network, maybe a governmental website like Getis, or some other profiles. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. And in this part, we also make a checklist about Zotero. Zotero is a software that requires connector and Zot file. It works with word processor. You can do PDF annotation and extraction with that. You can do collaboration using Zotero, at least with your supervisor, you should try it. You can do real-time collaboration using OneDrive, Google Docs, Overleaf, and that we will try next week, and I will demonstrate how it works with OneDrive, Google Docs, and Overleaf. You should set up VPN and proxy to be able to get all required articles from any place of the world. Definitely create a Google Scholar and ORCID profile. It would take just a few minutes and you can forget about it, but it will make your research much more visible to the others. Try exporting bibliography to ATIS. Well, in summary, thank you very much for your attention. This presentation aimed to illustrate that technology can work for you. Keep afloat the ocean of information. There are many articles. You need to choose only those that are relevant for you. Third, write faster and cite efficiently. Use softwares to, for example, automate the literature review, and then use the same software to add references, create bibliographies in your documents. My final statement is that writing for publication is not an art, it's in fact a science. You have the scientific approach using software, using specific good practices to create publications. Thank you very much for your attention. In case of questions, please write to me vi@ut.ee.